Welcome, welcome. I'm Marcie Billen. I'm a resident here in Norman, Oklahoma, and this is our weekly show, all things real estate for Oklahoma real estate or Oklahoma real estate adjacent, however you want to say that. So before we get started, make sure to hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that as well. And you are also welcome to join my newsletter list. You're going to find that below in the description, or if wherever you're watching this from, you're going to find that in the notes or the description. So thanks so much for joining us. I do have 2 newsletters per month, and I think they're quite good, but that's just my opinion. So as you may have guessed, I am a real estate agent here in the Oklahoma City Metro, and today we have on a special guest. So Russ Gray from Tulsa is joining us. He's one of my friends from Tulsa, and we work together typically with people who are moving to and from. And so we want to have a discussion about the real estate markets in both areas. And yeah, see where that takes us. Let's go. All right, here's Russ. Hey
Hey there,
Russ, how's it
folks.
going?
Doing great, Marcie. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. All right. So tell us, I just have your name up here for us. So tell us where you live and what you do.
All right. So first off, I'm a real estate agent here in the Tulsa area with the Heck and Kemper team at the Tulsa or the Keller Williams Advantage office.
Okay.
I live in the Broken Arrow area. Best place to kind of describe it is I'm out by the Forest Ridge Country Club area.
Okay.
We got a nice house out here on about a little over half an acre and just living the life.
Okay. How long have you been in real estate?
I've been in the business for about 8 years.
8 years? Cool.
Mhm.
Me too. Me too. Okay, so what cities do you typically work in Tulsa?
So kind of covered a little bit of everywhere in the area.
Mhm.
So Broken Arrow, Tulsa, Sand Springs, Jenks, Bixby, Owasso, Claremore,
Mhm.
Glenpool, Sapulpa, Collinsville. Geez, I'm trying to think of all the other places around here. There's quite a few. The coverage area is pretty large. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, for me too, because it's like the population's kind of slim, isn't it?
Just a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
We're spaced out pretty well in the Tulsa area.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised, how much space you can really get up here in terms of house and land. So
Right, yeah. For us too down here, although I've noticed a difference in our prices between the two of us for sure.
yeah, just a bit. You guys have your area down there's a little more compact.
A little
Everybody's
bit.
kind of really tight in there with each other, so the
Yeah.
land's at a higher premium.
Yeah, it's a little pricier for sure.
For sure.
Okay. Well, I used to live in Claremore, but it's been quite a few years there for sure. And whenever I lived in Claremore, Broken Arrow was kind of nothing. So tell us a little bit more about Broken Arrow. Like, how big is it now?
So Broken Arrow has grown substantially. So I don't know how long ago that was last time you were when you lived out this way.
Hmm.
Um, but now like Broken Arrow extends out into Wagner County.
Okay.
So you can find a lot of rural development property out here. Your property
Okay.
taxes are a bit lower, so there's a lot
So
of
like
folks.
you, so like USDA stuff.
Yeah, so there's a lot of USDA when you get outside of you got to get outside of city limits far enough. Believe it or
Okay.
not, my neighborhood is split in the middle. If you go to the north side of my neighborhood, they're
Oh.
inside of city limits, and my
Okay.
neighborhood is outside of city limits. So we have two totally different setups with that.
Okay.
So it's,
That's
it's very interesting out this way, but it's been growing out
yeah.
this way. People tend to gravitate towards like that Wagner County side of Broken Arrow because you get the
Okay.
Wagner County property taxes versus Tulsa County property taxes. Saves a little bit of money.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. We see that a little bit out here with like some different towns that are in a couple of different counties. So I can
Mhm.
see that definitely. Okay. All right, cool. So I wanted to talk, let's see. Well, first off, so that I can go ahead and take a drink because it's been a little bit of a day. And I think it has for you too, right?
It has been. Home internet went down, so
Okay.
I am running off of a hotspot right now off of my iPad,
Oh
so we'll
gosh.
see how this
Okay.
works.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
What are you drinking?
So this is I've actually got the bottle with me here. So
Oh,
this is
nice.
a Tulsa whiskey. It's Oil Fire. Um,
Oil fire.
so yeah, I know, right? Fitting name for something in Tulsa.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's fantastic. It's very smooth, easy drinking.
Nice.
Say it's like a rye whiskey and liqueur mix, so it's got a
Okay.
lot of really interesting notes to it.
Well, mine definitely does not have any liqueur in it, but mine's just Four Roses because this is what I drink. So,
Very solid option.
mm, yeah. But yours sounds really good. I've never heard of it. So that's, yeah. Oh, Elisa says cheers. Elisa recently moved to Oklahoma, so she's on with us. She always has some good questions. So I'm
Well,
so
welcome to
glad that
Oklahoma.
yes, yes. So she moved a little bit outside of the city there, but I work a lot out in, I guess, the suburbs. Like I do work in Oklahoma City, but I also work out a lot in small towns, and I have a lot of videos about small towns, which people often like to watch of mine. So yeah.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of options for like half acre, 1 acre, 10 acre, 5 acre properties. So yeah.
For sure. We see a bit of that up here too, so it's
Hmm.
kind of fun on that end.
Yeah. I think people really like it. It's one of the main reasons that people end up moving to Oklahoma.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Lisa says that she hasn't been up to the Tulsa area yet. So what kind of activities do we have in the Tulsa area? Like what do you like to do?
So if you can't tell, I'm a golfer. Um,
Yes. Is that what that means? Okay.
yeah, just I golf a
PGA
lot.
and Hoyt, I was like, I don't know why this 18's above his head, but okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
so that was the PGA Championship was here in Tulsa a couple years ago. Believe it or
Right.
not, within about a 12-month period, we had both the PGA and Live Golf came through.
Okay.
So I'm a big golfer. I love golf in the area. I've played a lot of the courses here. They're fantastic courses, some of the most beautiful courses I've played on. So if you're a golfer, I feel like Northeast Oklahoma is a
Oh, sure.
fantastic place to come play some
Yeah.
golf. You got the gathering place. There's a lot of good food options up this way. The food scene, it's grown, and a lot of it's been more food truck based, which is kind of interesting to see. There's a lot of food truck activities that happen up this way.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that a little bit. I go to Tulsa like every 2 or 3 months. Well, I go to Claremore and then my parents go to Tulsa. Yeah, we go to Tulsa. So, one place that they really like is Little Venice in Sand Springs.
I've heard great things about that place.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a haul, so if I'm going out there, I better be planning on it.
Well, the really this is 45 minutes for them from Claremore.
It's about the same from my place in Broken Arrow too,
Yeah,
believe it or not. It's
it
uh
cracks
it's
me
it's a
up.
drive.
Yeah, well, let's see how far we are from each other here. So, I mean, it takes me 2.5 hours to get from Norman to Claremore. So I can get to Tulsa typically in 2 hours, depending on which side, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which that drive, do you make it a lot? The drive between Tulsa and Oklahoma City?
I've made it a few times. My best friend lives in Edmond. He's been my
Okay.
best friend since college, so I try to
Mhm.
go visit him every once in a while.
Yeah. It's really boring to me, and like, and I've gone off on tangents on this before about like, a rail system or whatever, because I'm like, guys, it's all just flat pasture, nothing on the side of the turnpike. But now they're making the entire Turner, which is 44 between Tulsa and Oklahoma City. They're making that whole thing 3 lanes on each side.
Yep, and I know I've heard some stuff that they are starting to kind of explore expanding the Amtrak line from Oklahoma City up to Tulsa and
Right.
probably beyond. We'll see
Yeah.
where that goes. I know there's some research going on with that right now. Be
Right.
great if they would, because even making trips down to Dallas, I'd rather just hop on the train and let somebody else do the driving for me.
Yeah, it's way less stressful because like people tell me that it takes longer and like, yeah, it does. But you also aren't completely stressed by the time you get there, right?
Yeah, especially driving in Dallas traffic. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. For us Oklahomans, driving in Dallas traffic is a really unfortunate experience. And I recently, like last week or 2 weeks ago, I released a video where I shot us, so me and Handsome's my husband, we drove from Norman to Edmond during rush hour. And so I like had a video, right? Like going the whole time. And I had some Californians on the video get on and comment like, "This is traffic?" 'Cause I don't know, we see traffic as like there is more than like 5 cars around us.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the crazy things about Tulsa is like I'm sure ours is even lighter than what you guys get in Oklahoma City.
Maybe.
Um, I mean, there's a couple points in Tulsa where you're guaranteed to run into a bottleneck at certain times of the day.
Right.
Um, but overall, like I can make it into downtown Tulsa from my house in probably about 30 minutes
Mhm.
if traffic is a little rough. I can make it in 20 to 25 if everything's just cruising.
Right, which is most of the time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
ironically enough, they say living on Tulsa time, and I feel like everybody gets off
Mhm.
work up here around like 4. So rush hour starts at like 3:30, 4 o'clock almost every day. And it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Yeah. No, I've definitely noticed that. And like my dad used to drive to North Tulsa. You have Siri talking to you?
That would be my Google yelling at me. All right.
Yeah,
Google
yeah.
Home's trying to give me some input here. Holy
Yes.
cow.
Wonderful. Yeah, so I mean, I think that the traffic in both places is pretty comparable, and I know they've been looking at doing some different things with, like, streets and stuff, especially in downtown Tulsa. Talk to me about downtown Tulsa and how it's changed over the past 10 years.
Whoo, buddy. Man, there's been a lot of focus on history in Tulsa.
Uh-huh.
So very recently they've started opening up the underground tunnels in Tulsa.
Yep, saw that.
Um, that's been my wife and I have gotten to do that one before. It's a fantastic tour. You get to see some really cool stuff and kind of
Nice.
walk where like the Phillips family used to walk to get from like one building to the next.
Right,
They
Who's the
believe
Phillips
so the
family?
Phillips family would be the folks who created like Phillips 66.
Right, right.
So
Okay.
um so they ironically enough, like they've got these tunnels underground, and they don't believe they've uncovered all of them just yet. They think there's a couple more that maybe are still out there,
Okay.
or at least that's what I've heard. Now, granted, that was a couple years ago, so that might have
Sure.
changed. But it was just kind of this cool system where you can move between the like the Phil Tower and the Philcade, two different tall buildings that were in the downtown Tulsa area.
Mhm.
Um, We've obviously gotten the BOK Center. That one might be a little older than 10 years old, but the BOK
Yeah,
Center is huge, brings in a lot of really big performances every year.
right.
I think I just heard that Corn is coming in October.
Okay.
It's like, okay,
Well,
that's
I'm
cool.
going to
They're
Tim
doing the BOK.
McGraw. Yeah, I'm going to Tim McGraw in 2 weeks, so
There we go. So yeah, I mean it's a growing location. We got some great architecture. It's a lot of Art Deco.
mhm.
We do have so the BOK Tower is well, it was designed by the same guy who designed the original Twin Towers. So
Okay.
it's a like third size of the original Twin Towers in New York City.
Right.
So that's there's little ties everywhere in Tulsa, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. No, Tulsa definitely has a like, I love the Art Deco scene in Tulsa, I think it's really cool, and I didn't like, growing up, I had no idea that's what I was looking at, of course. Here in Oklahoma City, where it sounds like we're gonna get this big ass tower. Have you seen that?
I have seen the renderings of that, and wow.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned about the wind because let's be
I'm
real, we get
I'm
wind here.
I'm concerned about how it's gonna look personally. I mean, I understand the point of it, and, like, I'm not saying it's not gonna be cool because I do think it would be, but like, usually towers like that, I mean, they're talking about making a tower that's 1,907 foot tall, which is the tallest building in America.
Mhm.
1907 for the year of statehood for Oklahoma, which is a little cheesy, I must admit. However, this thing, like, it's gonna be more than double the size of the Devon Tower, which is the tallest building in Oklahoma, which will stand near it, but it's just gonna look so funky.
Well, it's a very modern rendering is what they've got. Like,
Right,
it's
right.
very futuristic, which I mean, don't get me wrong, that's forward progress. I love it at the end of the day in terms of architecture.
Sure,
How
of
it's gonna
course.
stand up in
Yeah.
the state of Oklahoma, I just hope they got some good engineers working on it. Let's be real.
I mean, I think that I'm not really as I feel like that would be a really dumb move on their part if they didn't have the great engineers working on this. I'm
Very
just more
true.
concerned about, like, this I don't know, because I didn't realize it until a couple of days ago, but I can actually look down my street. So I live in Norman, which is, 15 miles away from Oklahoma City to the south, and I didn't realize I could see the Devon Tower from my street, which is kind of funny. I just was like, "Oh, it's sticking up over those houses at the end of my street."
Oh
The end
my
of my
goodness.
street. I was like, "Alright, so what will that big tower look like?"
It'll be noticeable, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, not saying it's bad, it's just it really is interesting to me. It makes me think of the Burj, right? So, like, I've been to Dubai several times, but, like, the Burj, which is the tallest building in the world, sticks up so high into the clouds, it feels like you're on another planet. Like, when you're looking at it, it's like, "Oh, this is, from, like, a sci-fi movie."
Yeah, I
And
can see
people
that.
people skydive off of this thing. So, I mean,
More power to them.
I know, I'm not doing definitely not doing that.
It is a hard pass for me.
Okay. So one of the things we're getting here in, Oklahoma City that I was just reading a journal article about is the O'Connor Resort. So it's gonna have, like have you seen that?
I have not seen that.
So it's a resort that the Chickasaw Nation, don't quote me on that, I think it's the Chickasaw Nation, is building, and it's right next to the, First Americans Museum.
Okay.
So it's at the intersection or, like, where, I-35 and I-40 intersect on the river.
Mhm.
Mhm. So it's gonna have, like, 18 water slides that go indoor, outdoor, indoor, and, like, 12 different buildings. I mean, it's crazy. It's supposed to be opening in 1 year, and they have been working like crazy on this thing.
I was about to say, have they broken ground? Because 1
Oh,
year
yeah.
is
Oh, no.
ambitious.
It's trust me. They have been working like crazy. Every time I drive by it, I'm like, they've, like, finished so much more of this.
Wow. Yeah,
So
I
this
guess I hadn't
Tulsa
heard about that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they're saying that there's nothing else in Oklahoma like it. I don't think there is. Like, ultimately, Oklahoma is our 2 metros, and people from Lawton would come after us, of course, because they also consider themselves a metro, which I think is true. It's just not as big, right? And, but is there anything else in Tulsa with that's,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
I'd agree with that.
resort style like that?
Well, so there's this great American theme park that they're building,
Oh,
or
yeah,
supposed to be building
in
up
Dunedin.
northeast of here. It's kinda like halfway between yeah, kinda halfway between Tulsa and Joplin, right off of
Yeah,
44. Um, the renderings and the concept behind it seem really cool. I'm wondering the level of traffic that we'll actually get in the area for that.
okay.
Because when I think of going on vacation, not to diss on Oklahoma or anything, but if I'm going to go on vacation, I'm probably not going to Oklahoma. It's not at the top of my list typically. It's Florida,
But
California,
right, but how many people go to Branson all the time?
and that's the thing. That's a nice halfway point between Tulsa and Branson, realistically, to where if you
Mhm,
wanted to stop and go make a day of that, you probably could.
yeah.
It'll be cool to see. I'm excited for it. I know it's I've had a few folks ask me about like what's the value of the property going to do when that goes in up that way. We'll have to see.
Yes,
Theme parks are kind of a 50-50 shot of whether they're going to be
uh,
good for you or bad for you.
big question
Um,
mark, isn't it?
yeah, but there's supposed to be a hotel, resort, campgrounds. and then
Yeah.
like a whole theme park thing going on. And
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how that kind of turns out. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Right.
Just when people ask me like, what's it going to do to property values? I have no clue.
Yeah. I mean, I've been around Veneta a lot because my grandparents lived there, and so I would go all the time, you know.
Hmm.
And I mean, from what I've seen, like more and more because of the turnpike, I think. Like I remember the turnpike being built out to Big Cabin, and that just
Yep.
changed a lot of things for Veneta itself. And Veneta, of course, is the oldest town in Oklahoma.
That I did not realize.
Yep.
Interesting.
I
All
did.
right.
Yep. I know all the things
I mean, you've
because
lived here longer than I have. Let's be real.
my parents get the Veneta newspaper delivered
Fair
to
enough.
their house in Claremore. Yeah,
That'll do it.
that'll do it. Well, Roger says to read 3 newspapers every day, so that's what they do.
Yeah, there you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. So,
Love it.
cool. Okay, so we need to talk about the Tulsa real estate market and Oklahoma City real estate market, but we're gonna wait a few minutes on that.
Okay.
We're gonna go first to Reddit. So I don't
All
know how
right.
many of you guys look at Reddit. I just use it as like a search engine. Like Handsome looks at it all the time. Are you on Reddit all the time?
So I look at it every once in a while. The crazy part about it is I was at a trivia night a couple weeks ago, and
Mhm.
they brought up that Reddit is now like they're getting either a huge grant or they're doing some sort of huge thing, and there's some sort of large sum of money for like Google and some other folks to leverage their system
Okay.
as part of their search engine. I was just like, Reddit of all
Reddit.
things, like I would have thought like Meta would have had maybe that edge, or somebody, some of these other brands would have
Mhm.
had that edge, but Reddit apparently was the answer to the question, and I was floored by that.
Yeah. That's I mean, but it's kind of like Wikipedia, yeah?
It is. I mean, the magical part about Wikipedia in college was it was editable by just about everybody. So they always said
Yes.
you can't use Wikipedia as your resource on papers, but it was a great launching point because it always
Yeah.
had articles and everything else to go to find more
Right.
information. And Reddit, I've found, is very much like that.
Yes.
Just more broad. You can have just about any interest in the world to kind of jump into Reddit.
Right, right. So Debbie, she's a client of mine. She's saying how much I know about Oklahoma. And guys, that just like spurs me on to learn because I just like eat up information because it's the
Love it.
best. I love information. It's how I fill my spare time is filling my head with random stuff. Oh goodness. Okay, so I read this. Let's see. I'm going to put this here. I read this Reddit forum. So people were saying like, so this person, this is the question or this is the statement, right? So as someone who grew up in Tulsa and has now lived in Oklahoma City for 10 years, I still compare the two, which everyone compares the two because it's the only we can't compare it to anything else. We only have 2 metros in Oklahoma. That's how it is.
Hmm.
So I mean, if you don't want to live in one of the metros, like you can live out in what we call the boonies, but you will be far from things. Trust me, you will be far. Also, you have the option of living like close to the Texas line, which in that case, your metro would be Dallas, or close to the Arkansas line, which you're looking at like Fort Smith or maybe Little Rock or probably Fayetteville, maybe Wichita if you're up north, maybe even Amarillo if you're that far west. So it just totally depends. But this person says, when I first moved here, I hands down thought Tulsa was better in many ways, but now their mind is changed. Tulsa has a lot of things that are better than Oklahoma City that it could never beat. And of course, natural beauty. So we have to dig into that because I think that people don't realize the extreme differences between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. So let's talk about the Tulsa Hills for a second.
Okay.
Tell us.
Well, so I will say this. So we're kind of like, as you continue to go further east, you start to run into the Ozarks of Arkansas, and they kind
Yeah.
of pour over into Oklahoma. So when you get into the Tulsa area, like we have a lot more hills and undulations in our
Undulation.
undulation. There's a word for you for the day.
Nice.
We have a lot more hills. We have a lot more variable in regards to our elevations out here.
Yes.
And it's a great thing to have because if you're a hiker, if you're a backpacker, if you're somebody who
Yeah.
loves scenery, it's not just flat everywhere. You have hills. You can have, I'm not going to call them mountains. I grew up in Oregon. When everybody says it's a
Um,
mountain, I go, that is not even close.
it's really not.
Like it's your 5,000 foot hill is not a mountain. That's a hill.
Right. Right.
But it's just so pretty out here. There's tons of trees, tons of hills. We have the
Yeah.
Arkansas River that runs right through Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a lot of just beautiful scenery out here, and as you go further east, you find more and more of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually some great waterfalls. We have Natural Falls between here and Fayetteville, which is a fantastic place. They got a campground, some hiking, great places just kind of go and relax.
Right. Right. Yep. No, I agree with you on that. Cause like if I need a hill because I hike a lot, then I think about going up Sarkeys, which if you don't know, because if you don't live in Norman, Sarkeys is the tallest building in Norman. And so it's usually unlocked and I can get in the door to use the staircase. Or I go to Sulphur and hike up the one mountain that I can get to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but let's pause on that for a second because Paul has a question. So this is kind of for both of us here, but he says, question, sorry, off topic. That's totally fine. We're also real estate agents. We just like to goof off and talk about Oklahoma City versus Tulsa. Is it smart to pay cash for condos, 75K all in with rehab to rent out, or have a bank note for small houses for rentals? Which is the smarter option? Russ, you want to go first?
All right, I'll go ahead and hit you with this one. So anytime that you can run cash, I mean, it's just all equity at the end of the day, right? Like you're not
Right.
having to worry about making that mortgage payment or anything else of that nature. If it was me on a lot of the condos, there's some great locations for condos where at that $75,000 mark, you're going to get like that 1% rule very
Yeah.
easily out of
Yep.
those. There's some areas where at that 75,000, you might be a hair under that 75% rule. It just kind of depends on
Mhm.
the location. I think every city's like that in general. There's always
Yeah.
pockets where it's just like that. The rents can be a little bit higher or lower. If it
Right.
was me, if you have the cash to do it, I would do the cash over the banknote or the mortgage on that end, just because it just makes things simpler for you at the end of the day.
Right.
Now, granted, the flip side of that is if you do a banknote and you have $75,000 in cash, you can buy more of those units. So it's kind of there's a little give and take there.
It is. And you also I'm sure you've already spoken to a lender about this to like weigh your options, but different condos are also qualifying for different types of loans. So that may be also something to look into. Like some condos won't take loans at all. Like you have to do cash or commercial and you can't get a conventional. But a lot of times with those two, you can talk to a bank that keeps their loan in house and doesn't package and sell them off on the secondary market. And you can go ahead and look at those options. But a lot of times with that small of investment, it would probably do you well to just pay cash. And that way too, you don't have to worry about it. But I've had people do both ways for sure. Like I have a condo coming up that's not actually a condo, it's a townhouse, but it looks like a condo. So that's going to be a lot better for people because the types of loans that they can get on it. So, yeah.
I'll agree with that 100% too. And something else to keep in mind too is condo fees. That's on
Yeah,
top of your mortgage. It's not factored in on that end.
right.
So I would always do cash on condos personally.
Yeah. And one thing that my lender always talks about with my clients who are looking at condos is to ask the HOA what how much reserves they have in the HOA themselves. So basically looking at like, do they have $10,000? Do they have $50,000? Because if they don't have any money, then they're not going to be making any repairs. They're going to be doing extra supplements in order to make any repairs. And that can run you even more because they'll charge you as the homeowner or the condo owner for the supplement.
Last thing you want is those surprise fees to go up even
Yeah.
higher.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was a really good question. Thanks so much for asking us, because I rarely get questions about condos. We don't have a ton of condos here. I mean, we have some, but not very many.
Yeah, it's kind of the same story in Tulsa. Like we have a bit of a condo market. Really depends on the location of it.
Yeah,
There's a few areas where they're a little more common than others, but
they're building
ultimately,
a lot, I feel like, though.
that and apartments. A
Right.
lot more
Apartments
apartments
make
being
more
built here.
money.
Oh
Apartments
yeah, the
make
more
more money.
doors. Come on now, let's
Yeah.
go.
Well, and they get to keep them, where like condos are selling them, and that's, yeah, not
Oh
as
yeah,
lucrative, right? So,
very true.
all right. So, if you have any more housing questions, we absolutely want to hear them. We are just here for your information right now. So, we were
And maybe
talking
a little
about,
entertainment too.
oh, yes, we do like to entertain. It is 6:45 here, and this is fun. It's fun for us.
It's a Tuesday. This is a great way to kind of
It
wrap up
is,
Tuesday.
to end the day. I'm just so glad it's still bright outside, because I used to, of course, do this in the dark every Tuesday night. So I don't have to do that anymore. Okay. So we talked about the scenery. So Oklahoma City is very flat. I was visiting my friend Meredith this past 2 weeks ago in New York State. She has lived all over the place, most recently in Maine and then in New York State. And because she used to live here with me in Norman, and she said the biggest thing for her coming from Tennessee or Kentucky, because she's from Kentucky, was that she always felt very exposed here in Oklahoma City, because there's just like not a ton of trees and like everything's just super flat. And that's what I try to explain to people too sometimes, is like, first of all, it's windy, and then you're exposed. So
Yeah, that's probably the simplest way to put it is
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
They weren't joking in that song from Oklahoma.
No, they're not joking. I think I mentioned this on another live that I did, but I didn't realize until I watched that movie again, Oklahoma the musical, that was not shot in Oklahoma.
I would believe that. Chances are they were afraid of everything blowing away.
Well, I think I was looking at it, and they're like in Claremore, right? Like in the opening scene at the train station.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at this train station, and I'm seeing mountains, like literal giant mountains behind them. And I'm like, that is not reality. And so I
That's
did
what
it.
that's what we call false advertising.
Right. I was like, and I didn't notice this as a kid, right? Because we would rent this movie from the library to watch it. And I got on Wikipedia, and they're like, yeah, this was shot in Arizona. I was like, okay, that makes so much more sense as to why there are mountains in the background of Claremore when that's not how it is at all. So, just for your information there.
Love it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, back to this Reddit page. Like I said, guys, drop a comment whenever you have a question about anything for us, and we can answer that for you. So this person says they were saying how in a smaller state like Oklahoma, it's pretty shocking to have two big-ish, in quotation marks, cities about an hour away from each other. First of all, they're not an hour away from each other, like not even close. Like it's 2 hours. Yeah.
Hour and a
Like,
half if you got a good tailwind.
okay. And listen, here's my other thing about them making the turnpike even bigger. Turnpike means toll road here, you guys, if you don't know that, is that it's already, so if we have a 3-laned road, which we do on the on the Kickapoo and then on the Turner, but it means you can go 80, but no one goes 80, they go 90 or 95. I mean, I go 80 because I'm a grandma when I drive. But because like I'm driving a bomb. Like that's how it feels to me. Like if I hit something, like we're all dead, right? So anyway, that's my 2 cents, because I can't. I can't. Like, I would rather just drive 70 or 75. But anyway, then people would be really mad at me. Um, so they're saying that it's very cool that in Oklahoma we have two large cities. So we one thing we haven't talked about yet is universities in Tulsa versus Oklahoma City. So what universities does Tulsa have?
Oh boy. So if you're looking at your D1 options, if you're an NCAA person, you have ORU and Tulsa University or University of Tulsa.
Hmm.
Those are two D1 schools. They both offer a basketball program. One offers football, the other doesn't.
Sure.
So those are two of the larger universities in the area. If we start expanding out even further, you have Rogers State University up in Claremore. You have
Mhm.
Northeastern State Oklahoma or Northeastern State University, which has a satellite campus in Broken Arrow. Their main campus is in Tahlequah.
Yep.
And those are both D2 schools that are here locally.
Hmm.
And you could probably even narrow it down even further. There's a lot of like technical colleges.
Hmm.
OTC is one of them.
Oh,
Tulsa
that's right.
Tech, TCC.
Right.
So a lot of higher education university options here.
Mhm.
Just kind of depending on what path you want to go with.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have, of course, University of Oklahoma, the biggest university in Oklahoma itself. I feel like Stillwater has 918 area codes. So
It's kind of a toss up there, right?
you're
Like
right.
it's. I think it's as far away from you guys as it is from us.
Well, it's really far from Norman.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair.
Edmond, not so much. So it just kind of depends. But
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to talk about exposed or feeling like something's flat, then Stillwater's your place.
that is a fact. That is a fact.
Like, I visited there. I mean, I've been several times and I'm like, this is just not for me, guys. Like, I don't think this is gonna work.
Well, and I'll
It
throw in there too. We have a couple satellite campuses up here too for
That's
OU
right.
and OSU. We
Yeah.
have the Schusterman Center here for OU, and then
Mhm.
OSU has kind of a satellite campus on the north end of Tulsa and a
Right.
med school program in Tulsa.
Oh, that's right. They have their DO program.
I totally forgot that they have a hospital in downtown. It's just there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's very bright orange, but yes.
Can't miss it unless you don't know. You never drive by it.
I mean, yeah, you can't miss it. Just drive on 244. It's directly after the smell of the refinery. So, yeah, no
Yep,
problem.
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, University of Oklahoma here in Norman, University of Central Oklahoma in Edmond, and then we have Oklahoma Christian, and which is a private school in Oklahoma City. And then people always ask me about junior colleges. So our junior colleges here are definitely Rose State and OCCC. So OCCC has like really been pushing its film program. We have a big film scene now in Oklahoma City. Yep. Very strange to me as well. I can hear your thoughts. And then Rose State, I don't know what they're necessarily famous for. Like Handsome went there for his med tech degree to work in hospital lab, but because yours is TCC, right?
Yeah, that's our community college here locally.
Right.
And believe it or not, they've also been kind of pushing a little more of the film side as well too.
Okay. Yeah.
Seeing as we had Killers of the Flower Moon was shot up in Pawhuska.
Right.
Tulsa King for the 1 year that they shot it here in Tulsa was actually shot in Tulsa before Sylvester Stallone decided that it was too hot here to film.
Or
So
two. That's
now
interesting. I didn't know
I
that's
think
what
they're
it's
now
called.
filming it in Atlanta, and I'm like, it's not much better there.
Atlanta's really hot and the traffic's way worse. Okay,
Yeah, it's
whatever.
like yeah, but they shot Tulsa King here in Tulsa.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I think I saw something pop across the other day saying that there was they're doing a casting call for another film that's being shot here, kind of in the area as well too.
Good.
So Oklahoma's film culture has kind of grown
Yeah.
substantially over the last few years.
Yeah, no, I see that for sure, and, Oklahoma City's been pushing it a lot, which I think is really cool because it's an art form that's a little bit less expensive to run here, and I think that we have a good spot to do that.
I would agree with that one 100%. It's
Mhm.
we got just a great area around Oklahoma that you can shoot just
Yeah,
about anything you're looking for.
exactly. Exactly. Okay. This person says that Tulsa has more money, which so here's the thing, and I tell this to people, the economies are very different between Tulsa and Oklahoma City. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that one 100% actually. Um, so Tulsa's a lot of old money. Um, if you drive into areas or go into areas around Tulsa that are really, if you kind of end up in the area between like Riverside and
Yeah.
21st and heading south down to about 41st,
Yes.
there's a lot of really old mansions in that
Yeah.
area. We're talking stuff that was built at the oil boom.
Right. Which was
Um,
when?
I want to say it was the 1920s, if I
Yes.
recall.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So, a lot of those houses there are kind of protected under a historical district,
Right.
which is absolutely amazing to see because they're trying to retain the historical significance of the area.
Right.
Um, but the Tulsa money is a lot of old money.
Yeah. It's a lot of
You're
old
not really
money.
finding a lot of like new, not a lot of new millionaires are buying in those
Right.
areas. They're going outside of the area. They're heading out to buy
Right.
the land and the space.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I mean that's kind of the Tulsa side of it. Is there a lot of money? Yes, but it's a lot of old money.
Right. Yeah, you get that feeling too whenever you're out and about, and everything's just older. And Tulsa became a city in what, like 1869-ish?
Yeah, I believe that was about the time that it became a city, or at least it was incorporated as a city.
Yeah. And then
Obviously, after
yeah.
1907 statehood, and then the 1920s when the oil boom happened, it was kind of a race between here and Bartlesville, actually, a little bit, because
Yeah.
uh,
Bartlesville, another exposed area, flatness.
yes, been up there a couple times, and I'm just like, wow, there
Good
is nothing here.
God. There's nothing. I mean,
There's
I
and there's a
not
Phillips Tower up there too,
yeah, yeah,
which is
Phillips Tower.
absolutely it's a gorgeous tower. It really is.
Right. No, there's some very cool, very strange architecture from, like, a very specific time in Oklahoma's history. Very
Absolutely, yeah.
specific. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Oklahoma City, what I tell people is like, "Look, Tulsa's an oil town, Oklahoma City's a cow town." And that's just the way that it rolled. So because Oklahoma City didn't become a city until 1889 when 10,000 people just came all of a sudden because that was what they were given, right? And i- the stockyards were like the main economy. And I've read a lot, but like there's so much history, and at the same time there's so much cool stuff like whenever they ripped up all the roads in downtown, they like found really weird stuff underneath because they built everything so fast because it came like Oklahoma City became like a real city during the car period. So they just
Mhm.
like put down roads really fast, etc. And really until the Thunder came to Oklahoma City in what 2000, I'm not gonna get the day right. I'm not gonna get the year right. But the Thunder was what pushed us into being a cool place.
This is true.
Yeah.
I got a few friends that they're original Sonics fans, so they
Okay.
have a bit of a bitter feeling towards the Thunder. So I
Okay.
won't get too much into that one, but
Yeah, the sport that history is I mean, it's super interesting whenever you look at it and all the stuff that went down, but it's kind of like it's very Oklahoma of it. Like
mhm.
so, yeah, very Oklahoma. But yeah, cool. Good. All right. So they're saying that we get different Broadway shows. I actually see that we get the exact same Broadway shows. And I go
Yeah,
to Broadway.
I would say I feel like we've seen a lot of the same shows end up between both locations.
Yeah,
The
like
Tulsa PAC offers some great stuff,
right,
but I mean, it's nothing that I haven't seen Oklahoma City get either. So
right. Yeah, I mean, I just saw Wicked 2 weeks ago.
that's a great show, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good show, and I'm about to see, Mamma Mia, and I've seen Hamilton twice, once in Tulsa and once in Oklahoma City, so
Okay, there you go.
yeah,
That's another good one. That's a
they're
great
good.
one.
I love it, yeah. Okay, so this person said, "I think Tulsa used to be better. OKC has done a lot of growing in the last 15 years, but I think Tulsa has also done a lot of growing in the past 15 years." And I
Yeah, I would say I feel like it's very even across the board.
yeah. So another thing I think, and I love Oklahoma City, don't get me wrong, because I live here. But I think some of the suburbs around Tulsa have done a better job of growing.
Yeah, there's been a huge push in Broken Arrow.
Yeah.
Broken Arrow's been made several national lists over the last few years for just the livability, affordability,
Mm,
just general entertainment. The
yeah.
Rose District, which is the downtown part of Broken Arrow,
Mhm.
has been kind of a centerpiece for a lot of that here recently too.
Right.
And when you're kind of thinking about like areas to live within the Tulsa metro, like Broken Arrow comes up a lot because it's
Yeah.
considered one of the safest areas of Oklahoma, or at least one of the safest towns in the US. It's one
Right.
that's growing, it has the best affordability. So, at the end of the day, like personally, I live in Broken Arrow.
Yeah.
I kind of like it here.
Right.
Well,
I would hope so.
I would hope I like it here. I've bought two houses in this area. We
Yes,
moved only a
exactly.
mile from one house to the other.
Right.
Um, but at the end of the day, like I love living here. There's things to go do in downtown Broken
Yeah.
Arrow. I don't have to go to downtown Tulsa to be entertained. I can do stuff
Mhm.
here in Tulsa in Broken Arrow.
Right. I feel yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about Norman, like, I love it here. I didn't love living in Claremore, like, I think Claremore is great for some people, but it's only, like, 21,000 people, and that's not for me. Norman's a town of 128,000, and that's just much better for my lifestyle. So that's part of the reason why I like living here. But, yeah, I get that thought, like, you can go to Tulsa, you can go to Oklahoma City, and when you're living in a suburb, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call Norman a suburb all the time, just for some things, because we do have our own economy. Um, it's fine. Like, you have plenty to do. You don't have to go to Oklahoma City if you don't want to, and I feel like the same is true for Broken Arrow.
Yeah, it's really cool to go to like downtown Broken Arrow, the main street, the Rose District,
Yeah.
because we have Andolini's Pizzeria, which is
Yep. So good.
available in Tulsa. It's a great
Yep.
place. If you love
It's so
pizza,
good.
worth going to. We have Water's Edge Winery, which is a local
Yep.
winery here in
Yep.
Tulsa, or
Mhm.
really Broken Arrow.
Mhm.
Fantastic food, great wine selection. That is a guilty pleasure for my wife and I.
Yep.
Um, there's plenty to do.
Yes.
And I don't feel like I'm forced to go into Tulsa for anything. The
Right.
only exception to that rule is like, if I want to go watch hockey, yeah, I've got to go to the BOK Center. All right,
Hockey is
big deal.
fun. Hockey is fun in Tulsa, and I don't think people associate Tulsa with hockey all the time, but I have good memories of going to hockey games in high school.
The crazy part of it is like it's not only just the Tulsa Oilers for our ECHL league,
Right.
that side of it, um, but the OSU team practices and plays here in Tulsa quite
Oh,
often. They just
I didn't
built a
know
whole new
oh,
center for the Oilers.
I did know that OSU had a team because I had looked that up whenever I was doing, like, a Bedlam episode.
Things you would never expect at OSU, a hockey team from a town like
Do
Stillwater.
they
Come
wear
on now.
cowboy hats whenever
I
they play?
I haven't been to one, but I would expect that there's a possibility they might for the intros.
Okay.
Personally, I'd probably want to wear a helmet. I've seen those pucks flying
I mean
around. I'm good.
yeah, no, I agree with you, but I was just wondering because that's my experience with OSU and one of the reasons I did not go to school there.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's awesome. Good, yeah, like, hockey in Tulsa is synonymous, which I know sounds insane, but it's true. It's very true. So, Okay, really quick. So I want to talk about our real estate markets because usually I get these questions right about now, and we have just a little bit. And so, what kind of days on market are we looking at in Tulsa or in Broken Arrow for real estate?
So I'll kind of give you like the general side of it. I'm looking at the current stats. So we've seen an increase over the last couple months.
Okay.
But in February, our average days on market was right around 69 days. If you go back to December, it
What?
was around 52.
That's a lot.
It's it's fun to have that conversation with sellers right now of like, hey, like your house isn't going to sell in 3 days. Don't
Oh
expect it
my
to.
God. I
Um,
did not expect you to say that.
at our lowest point of average, it was 22 days on market, and that was in July of 2021.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
today to be at 69, we're just like, all right, your
That's
house is gonna sit a little while.
nutty.
Get
That's
used to it.
okay. Well, yeah, because our average days on market here in Norman is I had it up. It's 21 days in Norman.
Holy cow. Now
Yep.
you got me wanting to look at what the actual Tulsa is, because I'm looking at a general, just high angle of like everything that our MLS covers.
Right.
Uh,
So for Oklahoma City, can you guess what it is?
for Oklahoma City,
For the entire metro?
for the entire metro, I'd say right around 40.
30. And I do medians. I hate averages. It's the dumbest statistical analysis in the world. So I do
Okay,
median.
so if I do go to median, if I do pull that number, our median day is 34 on average for the
Okay.
for the entire area that we cover.
Okay.
It's a median of 32 in Tulsa. So
Okay. So
we're gonna
the
compare apples to apples here.
okay, we have to because the reason I do this, I mean, we don't have a ton of $1 million properties, but we have enough and they just
Mhm.
sit longer. And like even our luxury market, which in Oklahoma is said to be 750K and above, right? Then those are gonna sit longer. So I like to look at median because that's like the average human, like a better example of like what's gonna happen and how I can describe things to them. Because if you're buying in Norman at 260,000, that's completely affordable. And you can run into multiple offers like I have in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've kind of seen a bit of an uptick on that as well too.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of crazy, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact of, people are just wanting to jump in. It's
Yeah.
rates have been coming down a little bit.
A little bit.
They've been stable, but they've been coming down. They're not
Sure.
8% like they were. But also like, we're getting to the end of the school year, we're getting ready to roll into summer. Like people want to move. People
They
want to
do.
make their transition to their next house
Yep.
and kind of time it out.
Or their first time house. Cause like I think right now is an amazing time for first time home buyers.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I love what I'm seeing for first time home buyers.
Believe it or not, with the longer that homes are sitting on the market, first time home buyers right now have an advantage to be able to get maybe some seller concessions added into the deal.
Mhm.
Um, Compared to like, a year and a half, 2 years ago, where
Yep.
good luck. You need seller concessions?
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's not gonna happen. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you may pay more in interest and you're going to, and I'm sorry. And at the same time, you will set yourself up for 15 years down the line if you buy a house now.
Yeah. And I mean, the
Yes.
conversation I've had with a lot of folks is I'd rather refinance at today's prices, at today's
Mm,
rate in 2 to 3 years or whenever it comes down low enough that you're happy. I'd
right.
rather refinance what I bought the house for today
Yep.
versus waiting 3 years and then seeing, oh crap, I can't afford that anymore.
Yep. Because prices have still been going up.
Yes, they have.
And yep, that's what it is. Okay, what about sales price? What are you looking at for average or I go median?
All right, so apples to apples, our median sales price here. So in our entire MLS, our
Okay.
median sales price has been 234,950. Very
Mm,
specific.
very specific.
For Tulsa, it's been right around 220, which is our median.
Okay.
If I want to play the averages, they're actually pretty close. The entire MLS is 278.01 and Tulsa is 271.083. So they're like neck and neck almost.
Okay. So for no, for Oklahoma City, the median is 250 for the whole MLS, 265 for Norman. And then the averages are 282 for the whole MLS and 296 or 297 for Norman. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll throw one more curveball in there because I'll talk
Yeah.
about Broken Arrow since we kind of been centered around that a little bit today.
Right.
The median sales price in Broken Arrow has been 292,308. So it's
290.
higher
Okay.
than Tulsa
Okay.
and the MLS.
So, yes. Yes. And tell me jinx.
All right, let me pull that number. Hang on.
There's a
Hang
reason I'm
on.
doing this. There's a reason, I promise.
So the Jinx median sales price has been, whoa, holy cow.
Right. Right.
Oh, 424.5.
Oh,
Holy
God.
cow. Those are some like North Texas numbers right
Those are
there.
North Texas numbers. And listen, so people, I don't know if they tell this to you, but people talk to me about this. They're comparing, they're like, I want to move to Edmond. And like, guys, I love Edmond. I think it's a great town. But just like Jinx in Tulsa, the average sales price in Edmond right now is 396 290. The average sales price is $100,000 higher than Norman. $100,000. I'm just saying.
And I've got the historical numbers here too, which
Okay.
this is the part that makes me kind of laugh a little bit.
Okay.
Um Looking at everything. So obviously we're at the highest we've ever been in Jinx compared to
Of
everywhere
course.
else.
Of course.
Ironically enough, in January, the median sales price in Jinx was 297. So in 1 month, it went from 297 to 424.5.
Okay. Okay. I mean, ours jumped, well, ours went down a little bit for Edmond, but yeah.
And I'll credit that. I mean, let's be honest, December, January are typically very slow months in the Oklahoma real estate market.
Right.
So, like, I can see that in December it was 397 for the average price point in Jinx.
Right.
So, not surprising to see January drop a little bit, but at the same time, that launch from January to February is just
Right.
holy cow.
Yeah, it's a lot. And there's reasons for why these cities have such a higher price point and what they're trying to accomplish there. And what I try to tell you is to do your research because it's not the only place that you can live, right?
Yeah, there's tons of places when everybody kind of says like, "Hey, I want to be within 20 or 30 minutes of Tulsa," like that's a pretty broad area.
Pretty broad. Yeah, it's pretty broad. Like and here's the thing too. In Oklahoma, people just drive a little bit more because you're not dealing with the stress of traffic. I think that that's
Exactly.
the reason. It's just different. Like, it's pretty consistent on how long it's gonna take you to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that that will change much in the next 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing that as well too. It's really
Yeah,
going to be dependent upon any kind of like growth. A couple
yeah,
years ago, Tulsa was trying to get Tesla to build one of their
right,
factories out this way.
right,
Had that have gone through, I think Tulsa's growth would have been astronomical, to put it
right,
nicely.
right. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that's always my advice to people is like, just do your research. Just because there's not news articles or journal articles about certain suburbs does not mean that they're a terrible place to live.
I agree with that 100%.
100%. Because I'm, like, listen, and here, this happens. I know for Russ, it happens for me. People want me to pay to be in certain publications. And I have a feeling the same thing goes on for cities.
Hmm.
Not saying that they're paying. I'm uh it's my hypothesis.
You're probably right, because I can't tell you how many of those calls I get all the time from somebody just like, let us advertise your listing on this
Right.
in, fill in the blank city,
Yeah,
Dallas, LA, Houston. I'm like, come
right.
on now.
Exactly. It's just do your research. Like I recently I had some, well, this was I guess last fall, but this happens for other clients too, but this one was really it made sense to me. They were looking around Edmond, Piedmont, etc. And then I was like, "Hey, drive these other addresses, see if you like them," because like I knew they were going to be the same feeling as the addresses they were looking at up north. And they were like, "Oh, we didn't even know this existed." Because like Oklahoma doesn't have a huge population. Like people aren't like writing about these places. Like we're making YouTube videos about them. We're sharing them with you, and that's where you have to find them. Like they're kind of hidden. You have to dig in and you have to do the research. So, yeah, good stuff.
I can agree with that. Yeah. I mean, between Oklahoma and Tulsa, we have, or Oklahoma City and Tulsa, like we probably hold a vast majority of the population of the state.
Yeah, yeah, because you can absolutely get a really good deal in some small towns that are completely outside of these metro areas. And of course, lake culture is a very big deal here in Oklahoma. So like I know in Claremore, all of my friends went to Grand Lake all the time. Here they go to Tin Killer typically or Eufaula. I do have you had that experience, Russ?
Yeah, so it's kind of a split between Grand Lake if you're heading up northeast.
Mhm.
Keystone is another one.
Keystone, yeah.
Skytook Lake is also another kind of big
Okay.
popular area. And then Fort Gibson Lake is the
Yeah.
other kind of big ones in the area that people tend to gravitate towards.
Right. Yeah. They just kinda take their boats and go for the weekend or have their boats there or have a lake house. It's pretty common. So you can get that kind of vacation culture outside of the metros, but man, like finding good amenities, outside of the metros, depending on what your definition of that is, may be a struggle. Like, there's no Target. No.
Nope, you're dealing with the mom and pop stores, which
The
is
mo
great.
Yeah,
I
they're
love
great.
small business.
Yes.
But when
Yes,
you go
or
into
even
those towns,
Walmart.
like you might not find Kraft mac and cheese. You might find, some
Right.
knockoff,
Yeah.
Kraft mac and cheese going on. Like
It
that's
all
okay.
depends. Yeah, it all depends on what you're looking for ultimately, right?
Great value. That's the way it rolls
Yeah.
here out in this area.
Yeah, for sure. So these are the questions that I find myself answering a lot for people who are considering this move to Oklahoma, which I think is a great move. And, we we love the extra tax dollars.
That is true.
This is a great place to live. It's a great place to live, guys. So, yeah. Cool. Russ, do you have anything to add before we end?
I don't really have anything else on my end.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic evening here. So
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much for joining. And if you guys have any questions about anything, please send me an email. I have it up on the screen. And if you want to get in touch with Russ, just send me an email and I will help you with that also. And I will see you next week, every Tuesday at 6:15. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
thanks, guys. Good to see y'all.